Now, the interview segment where we would be discussing Sierra Leone and youth participation. Now, Sierra Leone is a young nation, not just politically, but demographically. With a median age of about 19, young people form the backbone of the population and the voting base. Yet here is the paradox. The majority is young, but is power young? Young people vote, they campaign, but how do they actually sit on decision-making tables? There are no guaranteed young quotas in parliament. Economic hardship limits political ambition as well, just like it is in several other parts of Africa. Civic education gaps weaken informed participation. And in many cases, young people are visible during elections. But are they visible in governance? That's the question, and that is what we would be discussing as Sierra Leone is empowering its young youth politically, or are they merely being used as electoral tool? To discuss all of this, we are going to be joined by Ambassador Josephine Wisdom Thullah, young activist, country coordinator of CAFI Africa, director of the International Affairs of GEMLI, and a broadcasting and journalism scholar at the Lim Ko Queen University of Creative Technology. Hi, Thullah. Like I told you earlier, we'll be discussing something very important, unpacking the youth participation in Sierra Leone and what impedes and challenges having young people in leadership positions. We're being joined now by Josephine Thullah. Ambassador Josephine Thullah, are you there?
Good morning.
Oh, fantastic. It's good to have you join us. You're joining us from Sierra Leone at the moment. Now, I think I would just like you to give us an overview of what the youth participation in politics is in Sierra Leone.
Thank you for having me. So youth participation in Sierra Leone is a very critical aspect of the country's social, political, and economic landscape. That sometimes we all know that when we are vibrant and young, oh yes, we should work in governance and have an input to nation building. But it's something different in Sierra Leone. But even though like when different government comes in, they do their own ways and they have their own way they run the youths. So I could say like this present government, like majority of young people that are working in governance, they're young people. Even though you cannot find 20 years old or 25 years old, but you see within the age range of 30 to 40 years old. I think that's a promising thing to Sierra Leonean youths. And you can see that most of the youths now, they want to go into politics. They want to advertise for their right. They want to have a say when it comes to governance. Because you cannot build a nation or a particular country and you don't expect the youths to have like an opportunity to lead.
Something we also record in several parts of Africa. I'm happy there's an awakening. We had something similar here in Nigeria as well. But my question would be, what often impedes? I mean, we've also seen financial reasons that impedes this political participation. How expensive is it to actually engage and get to political offices?
Well, I think that is one of the mistakes like Africa in general made, especially including Sierra Leone. And they want young people to be in power, but again, they intended to make it very much expensive. Because let's say if a young person wants to stand in power, or let's say he or she wants to become a president for Sierra Leone one in the younger age, you hear that, okay, you have to pay a sum of 100 million or 100,000 for you to have the position you need. If that young person don't have um, that kind of funds or money to be into politics, their dreams will just shattered, and they will not have any zeal to go into politics. Rather, you will see again, because of their dreams have been shattered, and those that have the money that they can sponsor themselves or they can enter into politics because of the amount of money that is being called, you will see those kind of people again will intend to use that vulnerable youth to say, okay, do this for me, and when I win, I promise to do this for you. And they will not do it sometimes. And that is why if you look at the youth rage in Sierra Leone, you will see frustration. You will see that every youth, or almost all of the youth, want to find a way where they can financially strong, where they can be able to have a say when it comes to finances. And it is one of the things that have destroyed most of the young people when it comes to politics in Sierra Leone. And now you can see that because of they want to go into politics and they need that. So that's why you have entrepreneurship, you have innovators. People use that kind of platform just for them to gain money. But let's say the money is there, but do they have the right people to guide them? Do they have the right people to put them in the position wherein they will not make the mistake, even if they go into politics, even if they go and stand for a particular position? The money is fine, but also let's talk about the right people that will guide them. It's not about you being a young person and you want to go into politics and you don't have the right mentors, people that will guide you to say not to involve in corruption, not to involve in fight, not to involve in things that are illegal in the country when you want to become a young leader.
What is in place? Because when you now say mentorship, you are sending these young people right back to the older politicians who, by the way, are not quick to relinquish power. However, have they set, do you think there are public office holders that have set the path for young people to actually learn what it means? And while answering that, I would like to ask, what's the civic education level like in Sierra Leone? Are young people vibrant in understanding what their roles are to society and how they can contribute to the development of the country?
Oh, yes, when it comes to the civic education, that's a thing I would say is a positive platform, especially for the current government that we have. Like they're doing all their best to make sure that the youth are educated. You will see like vocational institute now coming up, and you see, even though people will say, oh, because of finances, I could not finish education. But in Sierra Leone presently, with the present government, you will see, you will hear something like free education. So every young person that wants to be educated, there's a platform. Now you want to say, okay, what about the university? There are a lot of organizations in Sierra Leone presently that are ready to give scholarship to young people to finish education. I am a testimony of it. One organization in Sierra Leone, like the One Love Salon Foundation, they are the one that pushed me towards university level. Now I'm a final year student trying to graduate with honors degree. So if you watch at the civic side of young people going, being educated or wanting to be educated, the platform is there. It has already the space has already been set up for them to have the opportunity to go to school. But again, the responsibility lies with we or us, the young people, because if the platform is there for you to go and be educated, and you have to use it wisely. You have young people that they'll be sent to the university for them to get educated, but they're gonna do something else that is not even productive for their own future or not for the country. So sometimes when you have a say to the dog, have a say again to the bone. Because if the platform is there for them to be educated, what are they going to do in the university? What is a positive thing they are doing that when they come out of the university, they will invest in their own country? So the platform is there. It's totally there, the platform. So there is no young person in Sweden who will say, oh, it's because of finances, I could not get my civic education. Because of finances, I could not get my vocational training or vocational education. It is there. I think the last 2 weeks, I witnessed the one the armed forces made for women. 250 women graduated for this vocational institute. They have lot and lot of trainings that they have done. Some they are mechanical engineers. Some they go into the field of solar energy. Lot and lot of things happen. So the platform is there for young people to grab it and become productive in society.
Awareness and political education, one that we know, one that would put them in the right path. You talked about leadership and ensuring that the right leaders are indeed those occupying those spaces. It's one thing to say young people should lead. It's another to say, are they right for it? Are they experienced for it? Have they prepared themselves for these leadership positions? What's in place for young people who have these ambitions to eventually, get to those political positions?
So, like I said before, there are a lot of organizations that we have in Sierra Leone. For me, I always make myself as an example. I've been part of different platforms that you have organizations that will come on, but because now everything is changing day by day. People want to grow. So if they see the need in you that you want to be a productive young person in the future, then the platform is there as well. You will see organizations like they'll just create an entire body or they'll just create an entire program just for young people to have the say. You have the town hall meetings, you have summit that comes up, you have lot and lot of things that comes up for young people just for their voices to be heard. There is a platform that the president of Sierra Leone normally do for young people, like a pitch platform. Like you show your own idea of what you know how to do, and if they buy the idea and they see that there is a need in that idea of the young person, then they will take up the idea, they will take up the responsibility and sponsor that young person. You have there. I've seen a lot of young people that have been to China for innovative competition. They have gone to a lot of places from Sierra Leone just to compete. That tells you that because they have the guardians, and they have other people that want to contribute in the lives of young people. I will not say challenges are not there. Of course, challenges are always there. Challenges are always there. You have young people that will say, I have worked hard for this, but yet still, I, I I didn't get someone that will boost me up. I have not gotten anyone that will, you know, that will invest in me for me to become very much productive. So all those things are there. But again, I come back to the drawing board. Are we really ready? Are young people really ready to take up the responsibility for them to be who they want to become? Because sometimes young people are actually sometimes hard to deal with. When you become hard on them, they will think you're using them. When you will showing them the platform or the path to go, they'll think you're controlling them. So it's vice versa. Any young person that wants to be a great person, they learn. They go through the hard way. They be patient. But one thing I've observed in Sierra Leonean youth, the patience is not there. They just want to have it in a quick way without waiting for them to go through the training, through the mentorship. So all of that.
Absolutely. Now, what would you say? Because a lot of people have listened to a lot of activists just like yourself asking for quotas, young quotas in parliament where a seat is reserved for young people so that political parties will be forced to field young people, to just bring that inclusivity and young voices in parliament. When you look at the landscape in your country and the political landscape rather, is it something that you see in works? Do you think it would come to pass? And if it doesn't, what are the dangers in not having young voices represented in the legislative?
So, like I mentioned that before that young people being put in power, you not find a 20-year-old in parliament. Even though, like the law said, when you're 18, you have the right to stand to become a parliamentarian. But again, fear of young people make that opportunity to go. without them noticing it. Now, if an 18-year-old said, I want to be a parliamentarian, did he or she have the platform that we pushed her or him for them to become a parliamentarian? That is one of the things, again, we have to put in mind, that when a 20-year-old stands up, or when an 18-year-old stands up, that I want to be a parliamentarian. Now, listen, most of those elderly people that are in politics, they rather not get up from that seat and allow the younger soul to lead or to be a leader in parliament. Even though some people said, oh yes, we have younger people in parliament, we have like a 30-year-old, we have like a 35-year-old or 40-year-old. But I want to see the difference. Let them start it from 18 years old to 20, 25. Then we can talk about the 30 years old. And if young people are not included when it comes to politics, or when it comes to leadership, it's going to be a disaster for any country or any nation we find ourselves in. Because one, young people are vibrant. They are people that they can actually think and have innovative ideas. And what can an old person do in parliament actually? I am here as a young person. Other Sierra Leoneans are there as young people. You that call yourself a parliamentarian or an old parliamentarian, you don't know what I want as a young person. You cannot debate for me, because is there anything that I want that you do for me as a young person? No. Not all the time they are there to give assistance to a young person, or to hear their voices out, or to hear their cry, or to hear what they are going to say. Not everything that that is positive that is coming out of those people that we're looking up to in society. But the only thing that will make me feel that there indeed a change of leadership in the parliament sector is when an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, or 25-year-old is being put or given the position of a parliamentarian. Is the community ready to support that kind of age group? Are the elders ready to support that kind of age group? That's a question I'm asking myself all the time. I said, okay, they always say young people are there, young people are there. But when you check the age range, it's not the same age as me. They're not the same age as that 25-year-old roaming about the street. No. So that age difference needs to come up. And when any youth hear that, oh, the youngest parliamentarian in Sierra Leone is a 25-year-old young woman or 25-year-old young man, then you will spark change and positivity in the country.
I like the passion at which you're saying this. There's still so much to unbundle, but we're going for a very quick short break. We've gone half hour into today's segment. When we return, we will get into more about young people emerging. Are they ready? What can we do to ensure that we have them in political positions, not just in Sierra Leone, not just in Nigeria, but across board? Let's hear young voices. Let's see them express their leadership and even learn in the process. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us. This is RAZEP Africa.
Welcome to RAZEP Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show.
Welcome back from that. We've been discussing Sierra Leone and young people in leadership position. How can that gap be bridged, and to see what we can do to ensure that we do not have weakened gaps that stampede or impede rather young people visibly in leadership. This is not, of course, a problem that just Sierra Leone faces. We have people from all over, political activists from all over the world asking for quotas that will see intentional leadership, not just in public service, but in legislative houses. We know that the women also have those issues as well, but young people vote. They campaign, they mobilize. How come when it comes to leadership positions, we are often not very comfortable to give them a seat in the decision-making table? There are no guarantees, especially in Sierra Leone. Nigeria, of course, some time ago signed the Not Too Young to Run bill that saw a lot of young people emerging in political positions, not as many as we would have loved, absolutely, but we have substantial numbers that are now flexing these powers that they have in elections, in campaigning, going through the entire process, and that is what we most often encourage. That process that gives you an opportunity to even learn what your constituents, what electorates are like, what kind of negotiations is necessary, what is the kind of engagement and consultations necessary, and how do you lobby your way and get people to accept you. Those are the lessons, political lessons that young people must go through, and that is why it is very important to have young voices. I mean, it goes without saying, how can Africa have this much young people demographically and not have them in political spaces? So that's the conversation we will have shortly. We'll bring back Josephine Thullah, who's joining us from Sierra Leone, to discuss more. When you look at Sierra Leone, that has the age of the median age of about 19, you should now imagine that, and that's why she said there's an act in Sierra Leone that allows 18-year-olds from 18 to not just vote. You can be voted for, especially in parliament. So what are political parties intentionally doing to ensure that this works? That would be some of the conversations we will be having. The backbone of the political space. What a paradox. The backbone of the political seat is the young people. They determine who emerges their leader, but never themselves. Do young people even know the powers that they have within themselves? Well, there are no guarantees. Nobody is going to, of course, give power to you as a la carte, serve power to you as a la carte. But are African leaders afraid of empowering its youth politically, or merely using them as electoral tools? That's the question that we've had across board. Are we ready for leadership? And and when you see young people get into the smallest position, because often you see when you go to offices of political leaders, as compensation, you see young people around there as script writers, around there as advisors, around there as special assistants, but very often you don't see them sit in the reins of power. An unfortunate trend there is. It means I can write the script that you come out to say. Sometimes these young people write this script and you don't, the older politicians are not even reading the scripts right, and you cringe and say, this must be a very interesting script or yes, speech. All you had to do, you had one job, and all you had to do was to read it. There are very many issues that impede young people in political spaces. That intentional support from political parties that says, let us field young people. Let's give them the support necessary to emerge. Like we had mentioned here on the show some time ago, that's something we saw in Nigeria, where a lot of young people were said, you know what, it's a consensus, the adults or we have accepted, we've finalized who can stand the test of time. So let's not bother going into the primaries, just wield, just concede to this individual. But because these are the people who make up the political front, the political party, you often just let it go. Not because you don't think you can serve, not because you think when you go into elections you will not win your opponent, but because the political actors that determine who emerges have actually made a decision. And that stifles the growth of young people in political spaces. It's a very unfortunate trend that we are recording, but I hope that we eventually do something about it and see to the end of that trend. Because one thing you must know is, imagine young people are in all leadership positions. There would always be space for young people as well. Let's think for a moment if in that political space we had the young people come up to say, yes, we are doing a consensus. You are not. Let's forget about primaries. And a young person who is a member of that political party sitting in that what we call the cabal seat says, oh no, let's give this young person a chance. Because of course, he's going to have a voice for young people like him. So it's very important to have these demographics that are often not included in leadership, so that they could speak and because they'll be relatable to the issues that they face, they will have the opportunity to speak for their persons. And it's a very beautiful unpacking. Very, very soon here on RAZEP Africa, we will go across board, not just Sierra Leone, we will go to Gabon, we'll see what's happening when we talk about young people in leadership position and what really impedes the growth and the growth really of young people in politics. I would also like to hear from Cameroonians. I know that we see how old their president is, something that has been largely criticized, but what is going on beyond the presidential seat, what's going on from the top down? Are we seeing more young people emerge there? Those are conversations we'd like to have across Africa. Hold on, it's going to be a project for RAZEP Africa to try to dissect and see what's going on across other parts. How effective is young leadership? We already know in Nigeria, and that's something we started with, where we had an essay to the governor come discuss what often happens when young people come. It was all fun and games to hear him say that if you do not want to, if you really want to appear or be significant in political spaces, you should fight for it. The fight is easy if you have the funds for it, but how much can we have? Nigeria recently also announced the benchmark for political campaigns. How much can be spent during political campaigns? It's how many young people with good intentions can afford that is the question that we have across board. How many young people? So shortly we'll be joined again for the concluding part of the conversation by Ambassador Josephine Wisdom Thullah, who would be finishing off the concluding part of that conversation. But it's wonderful to address these very important issues where young people must be positioned to participate in elections. That's rich coming from me, having observed the just concluded FCT elections, where unfortunately we recorded such low turnout and some flaws here and there during the elections. Very, very unfortunate flaws that I would say the electoral umpire, the INEC, should have done better. There were instances where electorates were telling you that it was a night before. It was a couple of hours before the elections that I got a text message telling me where to vote. Is that intentional? How could this not have been prepared way before the election date, is what a lot of people are asking themselves. There were people who got to their polling units and did not find their names there. And so now they had to look for the polling unit. There are several things that impede, and these are the disillusion and distrust that unfortunately will be fueled. I'm just being told now that Josephine Thullah is back online. Hello, Josephine. Okay, so we're still working to get that connection right. Okay, Josephine, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Part of the conversation discussing Sierra Leone and what's been on ground. But like I was talking about Nigeria, we have very similar instances, and you talked about the youth quota. It's not just about the youth quota, but the beautiful thing you said there was the community. How aware are they Would the community support a young person in governance? Would traditional leaders support a young person in governance? So you give me an idea. I always talk about an instance where politicians have so much access to not just religious leaders, but traditional leaders. What is the case in Sierra Leone? Is it one where there is so much influence by political actors to determine where the bloc, religious bloc, would go, or traditional bloc?
So I would like to say to you, Dr. Joy, that Sierra Leone youth are very much active in social movement. They can actually address those issues like, corruption, environmental concerns, and gender equality. But their activism in being into politics are sometimes facilitated by this so-called social media, and which has provided a platform of awareness and mobilization. And when it comes to politics, sometimes these young people are marginalized. The people that are into politics that we can look up to, or we call elders or traditional leaders, they sometimes think that, oh, a young person should not rule over an elder, or young person should not sit where an elderly person is sitting or making decisions. That's the wrong perceptions they have been having all those years, all this while, when it comes into involving young people into politics. And if we don't change that narrative, if we don't change the perception or the idea that we have behind that, I am not sure a young person or a vibrant young person within the ages from 20 to 30 will be able to rule Sierra Leone until the mindset is being changed, until those traditional leaders have the idea and have the understanding that we are living in the 21st century. We are not living in the century of our ancestors. This is an age, or this is a century that they should give young people the opportunity to rule, because we know what is happening. We know what we want. We know how to shape the society and the community, and how to mobilize ourselves to bring a change in the society.
That's true right there. And the beauty is, these older politicians know the leverage that we have. They know the qualities and capacities that we have, but often are they afraid of the young people? Is there some innate fear that when they come, they would have reforms and changes and restructure everything, and they are afraid of that change? Is that what you feel is the problem here?
I feel that is the reason, because young people, we are threats to these elderly people. And the way we think is different from the way they are thinking. The way we put things strategically in place is different from the way they put things strategically in place. Where we can enter, or where we are able to go to, not all elderly leaders will be able to enter. We interact. That is one of the things they should be aware of. We know, and we can tell, we can feel, and we'll be able to be in the same shoes of another young person. We'll be able to feel the way they feel. Maybe they were like, oh, a child cannot stand where I'm standing, or a child cannot sit where I'm sitting. Or they have this proverb that actually say, when I stand, and where a child can stand and see, even me, another person will be able to sit and see the same view. But it's wrong. Sometimes you cannot sit and see the same view as that young person standing, as an elderly person. All we are asking for is for them to give us the opportunity to be able to have a say when it comes to politics, when it comes to decision making, when it comes to involving our voices to certain things that will bring change. Let them just give us the chance. and let them see, because we're given a lot of chances to
Nobody
these
gives
elders, to
power.
these
You keep
leaders.
saying let them give a chance. It's. I don't think there will ever come a time somebody in power, enjoying all the resources around power, will say, you know what, out of moral drive, I would let it go. But that's the situation
Yeah,
we're having across Africa. We are
yeah.
running out of time. So my last question, I guess, would be, what do you think young people can do, leveraging on the energies they have, the numbers across, they have, and leveraging on the know-how? What do you think they can do legally to ensure that this power is gotten?
So what I will say here is, there is a word that they say, leave no one behind. But for me, it's a time that we should leave those elderly people behind. Let's create a platform on our own for them to see that we are capable, we are competent, we can rule, we will be able to take political leadership without them coming on board. Because if they see what we're doing for the community, if we involve in community growth, if we involve in the economic growth, if we involve in the social growth and the social aspect of a particular country, even if they self do not want to give us that power, but people around, international bodies, Africa, they are watching, they are seeing, even the country we are living in, for the fact that this young person has involved in this kind of development, then they will be able to entrust us. It is time we start leaving them behind and take up the mantle of leadership positively, because if we don't allow them to use us when it comes to election, they bribe young people to say, okay, go and fight, go and go and cause havoc there, or go and do this there. If we stop listening to them, and the time will come, they will know that when it comes to negativity, we are not in, until they place us in a platform that they themselves will know that we can build the nation with our young minds, vibrantly, focused, and acceptable in society.
Josephine Wisdom Thullah, thank you so much for your time. And I see the drive as she's a youth advocate, country coordinator for CAFI Africa, and Director International Affairs at Gemly. Thank you again for being part of the show and for
Thank you for
giving
having me.
us an idea of what's going on in Sierra Leone. I'm hoping we could have you more often to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
This is where we end today's edition of RAZEP Africa. It's been wonderful discussing pathways to meaningful inclusion, youth participation in Sierra Leone's political landscape. Very, very impactful conversation right there. I'm hoping that governments across Africa will hear us and do something about having youth voices that shape the political journey. So this is where we end today's edition. Rest next time with so much more. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Welcome to RAZEP Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show.